and let us all do we can to build a better future.
By the way, originally we were going to have Robbie Yeager on today, but we are going to reschedule with him and getting an update with the Colonial Pipeline. So we're looking forward to having him on very soon. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our first segment. So I was surprised when I saw this video posted on Case Study QB's Twitter page, where Cenk was talking to Representative RoKhanna. So at least somebody, quote unquote, in the Progressive Caucus went out in TYT. And it was very interesting to see this conversation back and forth. I got some opinions about this video, but I did find it interesting that after carrying water for the House Progressives for so long, as well as for the Democratic Party, we're seeing, I guess, a semi-pushback from TYT towards, I guess, the Progressives and how they haven't gotten anything done. Let's play this first video from Case Study QB, and again, be sure to follow Case Study QB on Twitter. He's doing a lot of good things, and be sure to check out his work for the People's Gauntlet. Let's play this first video.
That's a fact. So
yeah, but the challenge is if we really were to hold to that, we'd have nothing. I mean, you really would then, the president's agenda would not happen, and we'd move on to the next issue.
But hold on, Representative Khanna, that's of course not true, right? So you wouldn't have it yet. Hold on, you wouldn't have it yet. And then what would happen next is pressure would then go back to Manchin and Sinema, and they would say, well, the progressives are holding the line, and they're doing the same exact thing that Manchin and Sinema are doing. Manchin and Sinema are drawing red lines all over you guys. They're saying, I'm not going to do any of these things.
The difference is, I think Manchin and Sinema would be perfectly fine if nothing happens. I think they'd be fine. Okay.
Well, but Representative Khanna, I understand what you're saying, because they don't mind if these bills don't pass, because they don't care about the country. They don't care about their voters. I understand the voters of West Virginia and Arizona are super clear. They want both of these bills. I'm going that far. I'm going that far. They definitely are against their own voters, and they're doing it for the donor money. Everybody knows this, Representative Khanna. Everybody. Are you guys ever going to say it? And the reason why I say that, Representative Khanna, is because if you don't say it, then you're right. Then Manchin and Sinema have no downside. They could bury every bill that would help the voters of their states, and they can cash in on it. And Sinema has. She's collected over about $1 million from drug companies because she's corrupt. And so the only way that you guys can get leverage is to say, one, we're holding up an infrastructure bill, which now you guys say you're not going to, so they will steamroll you. And number two, the second thing you could say is, okay, here's our leverage. You guys are corrupt. We're gonna call out every single one of your donors. We're gonna humiliate you, because you should be humiliated, because you destroyed the Democratic agenda, and you did it for your donors. Now, wouldn't that have an impact, Representative Khanna?
Well, the question is, how are you going to get their votes? I actually don't think that would get their votes.
Oh, yeah, it would. Yeah,
I mean, Manchin did a state that Trump carried by 40%.
But that state hates his position. That state loves paid family leave. It's in the polling. It's not disputable. That state loves lowering drug prices. It's in the polling. It's not disputable. The only thing is, nobody in the state knows that he's.
How come you're buckling now? Well, this is the Progressive Caucus. These are progressive lawmakers that for a long time were protected by a lot of blue checkmark people within independent media. These are the same people who also, again, talk down towards other independent media outlets when it came down to being critical of the establishment. Take, for example, with Forced to Vote for Medicare for All. That was something that was a serious problem for these larger independent media networks, because again, what was Forced to Vote doing? It was asking our lawmakers, the progressive lawmakers that ran on Medicare for All, where were they when we needed them the most? Where were they when it came down even for Forced to Vote for 15? Where were the progressives at as Americans were being evicted from their homes? Well, again, TYT and other large media outlets have been carrying water for the progressive movement, and that's a devastating fact. And again, when we also look at the issues of dealing with the Democratic Party, so long as their lawmakers are protected by blue check marks and other larger independent media networks and corporate media, a lot of Americans aren't really going to get the change that we want. Because when you're a progressive in the Democratic Party, you're going to be co-opted, you're going to be bullied. And the thing is, look, we can't forget this. TYT took $20 million from Katzenberg. That's a large Democratic donor right there, Katzenberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, the same person who also wanted to talk to the LA City Council and the mayor's aides in regards to dealing with the homelessness situation there. This is the same Katzenberg who also, again, is a large Democratic donor as well. The Democratic Party is, once again, dictating terms, and so long as they're protected and we're not seeing them get pushed back on, they're going to keep on acting like nothing's happening. Now, again, a lot of people have issues with Cenk Uygur. They have a lot of opinions about him. I do as well. And it's interesting to see him now aggressively, I guess, taking on RoKhanna. But it's almost too little too late at this point. And you're trying to cause a ruckus with a Democratic Progressive Party, or progressive in words only. This is the same Progressive Party that is now basically saying it doesn't want to show up on your show anymore. Because when it comes down to hard-hitting questions or even pushing back or being aggressive towards these Democratic lawmakers who say that they're progressive, they constantly buckle. They constantly make excuse after excuse after excuse. And so for a final note for this story, it should be expected that, we're seeing this kind of pushback from Cenk. After all, he put a lot of power behind the Democratic Party, especially the progressives. He was one of their biggest protectors. And when, with all the evidence before us, with the lawmakers not even doing anything, with them patting Biden on the back and giving him an A+ for every single issue, and constantly, again, turning a blind eye to all the policies that's being passed under the Biden-Harris administration, it's time to really reconsider the fact that you cannot bring in democracy, you can't bring in change by trying to change the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is just as corrupt as the Republican Party, and the progressive lawmakers that are in the Democratic Party, well, let's be very clear where they're at. They're easily bullied, and they're easily, again, people who could be submitted to the Democratic establishment.